Right. The movie that I watched and analyzed was Stand By Me, which is a film from the 1980s but set in the late 1950s. In the movie, a group of four boys, Vern, Gordy, Teddy, and Chris, discover from an overheard conversation that a kid had been killed somewhere along the railroad tracks. The boys then set out on a 2-day search to find the dead boy. On this adventure, they meet a mean garbage man, almost get killed by a train, find leeches on them in odd places, forget to pack food, and almost get stabbed by another group of older boys who also want to find the body. They find the body and leave it there and never speak of the incident again. They begin to drift apart. The movie is told from the point of view of Gordy in the future. After watching the movie and rereading the notes, I've seen that panic is the first type of collective behavior listed. I just want to talk about this. An example of panic in the movie is when they must walk across the train track bridge, but the boys don't know when the next train is scheduled, so they have to start walking. Halfway across, they hear the train whistle blowing, and they have to run for their lives. The panic that comes over the two boys who are behind is shown by the fact that they can't get control of their running, they can't keep control of their feet, and they keep tripping. Revolution. It's also another one that I wanted to talk about that fits in this movie. At the end, Teddy, Vern, Chris, and Gordy are standing over the body. The atmosphere is saddened, and none of the boys really know how they feel. Another group of older, violent boys come along to ruin the moment. The leader of this group, Ace, who is also the suspected killer of the boy in the woods, pulls a knife. He tells the boys to step away from the body, but they refuse. Ace comes towards Chris with a knife. Gordy, who is the most sensitive of his friends, pulls out his father's gun, which none of his friends even knew he had, and fires a warning shot into the air. He points the gun at Ace and his friends and tells them they better leave. This is a revolution because right before the older boys show up, Gordy and his friends are all depressed at the sight of the body. But after Ace shows up, the atmosphere gets tense and violent. Okay. An example of the contagion theory would be when the boys are wading through a slough. They start to find leeches all over their bodies. Gordy has one that is in such a weird, awful place that he faints, and when he comes to, his first impulse is to sit alone, but then yell at his friends for fussing over him. This is showing the emotional release that is portrayed due to impulses. It is also showing that Gordy did not want to be singled out. He wanted the attention to go back to the group as a whole, rather than everyone be focused on him individually. Okay. Convergence theory says that people gather together based on similar needs, beliefs, dislikes, ideas. I think that the reason that these four boys in the movie are all such good friends is because they all come from broken families. They can understand each other, and this is why they meet up and do everything together. The emergent norm theory discusses that there are different types of people that can be found in a group, and why they may act as they do. Teddy definitely falls into the lawless category because he acts based on impulses rather than thinking about what his consequences might be, while Vern is more of a yielder, meaning he is easily persuaded to do what the rest of the group does because he just doesn't want to be left out or judged for not doing what the rest of the boys are doing. Gordy's brother died, and it affects his behavior because he acts how his brother would. He knows that his brother was the most kind-hearted, sweet, gentle man that he ever knew, and he wants to be more like him, so he works to create a sense of peace within his friend group. He wants to be kind and gentle like his brother because this is the only way he can try to remember him. This is an example of imitation. Chris is Gordy's friends. They are so close, they cry together and can tell each other how they are feeling all the time. When the two of them are alone, they are sensitive and honest with each other, but once they are around Teddy and Vern again, they change their attitudes and act tougher and with less emotion. This could be considered a demonstration of social facilitation. The pro-social aspect that I wanted to focus on was other people's shoes. This is the ability to empathize with others by seeing things from their perspective. In Stand By Me, Gordy is the best example of this. He isn't like Vern or Teddy, who are scared and insecure, and unlike Chris, his family doesn't have an awful reputation. But because of his ability to see things from their point of view, Gordy can understand how each of them is feeling, and he feels sorry for them because they aren't as lucky as him to have that ability. My final thoughts are that this movie has greatly demonstrated roles of collective and group behavior, and it was very clear because there were not a lot of characters, and the plot was simple, but I really had to look beyond what the movie showed and take into account what the characters might be feeling and why they acted in the ways they did. There is always a reason for the ways that any person reacts to anything. And so it was demonstrated in this movie. Thank you very much.